So if we put those two things together, the naming rules along with the data types. Now, this is my advice to you based on my programming experience, and you will and should develop your own patterns as you become more experienced. But you may want to consider following my pattern when you start out, just to help yourself. So if I want to name a variable, it's really tempting to just be like variable one or X or Y. Those are all variable names that you could use in Python. But what I suggest is that you use a variable name that tells you two things about the variable. The variable name should tell you the data type, and it should tell you what the variable is, like what's in the container. Like, for example, if I have a string that is my name, I might start out with str so that I know it's a string, and then I put a capital N for name, and that makes it readable. Int age for an integer that represents my age. Float GPA, and sometimes I'll just say FL instead of typing float. You do you. But when I look at it, I still know what it is. Float GPA for a floating point. Boolean, I like me, true. Now notice my capitalization scheme. Every time I start a new word, I capitalize it. There's no spaces in variable names, so you can't do that. You could use underscores. Some people like that. Some people get tired of typing underscores. I prefer this method, and it's called camel case because it has humps in the middle. So this is camel case. Camel case typically starts out lowercase, and then every subsequent word is capitalized. Very common in programming. You'll see it a lot. And if you don't do any of those things, this is what you get. Okay, you get long, ugly variable names that are hard to type and hard to read. And that's a recipe for errors. So I would highly suggest that you think about that. And the earlier you start in your programming of having that pattern of having good names, naming them a certain way, doing things consistently, the better. Because when you build those habits, your future self will be very grateful when you go back and try and read your code from your earlier self.